Hey, welcome to Taylor's Trick Game Table. I'm Taylor, and today we're going to climb one of these V5s, because after all, it is climbing May, and the game is actually up there. So let's climb to the top of it, and we'll try to find the game here. Here it is. Okay, so the game we're going to be covering today is called Frank's Zoo. The hook to Frank's Zoo is that the first hand players play alone, but after that, all the players are playing in teams. So then, after that, it's a partnership game. The other hook is that there's actually no numbers in this game. I'll show you how it works. Let's go to the table. The table is actually above me here, so let's climb to the table. So, hey, post-workout Taylor. I thought I'd come back to say that it's not just the end of climbing May, but it's actually the new month of June, Germany June. So this is actually a German game, and we'll be covering more German games for the rest of June. So now let's go to the table. The deck in Frank's Zoo is made up of 60 cards. There's 5 each of 11 of these animals, 4 each of the mosquitoes, and 1 joker. Here we have a game of Frank's Zoo set up for 4 players. So the 60 card deck is dealt out evenly, so 15 cards, and it goes to start player to the left of the dealer. So let's say it's this school of fish here. So the cards are interesting in Frank's Zoo in that there's no numbers on them. There's just a bunch of animals. So the suit the animal is still in the top left or right, and also big in the bottom here. But what's also interesting is you find out what beats the card by what's in this kind of bubble above the animal. So how you start the trick in Frank's Zoo is you lead any number of the same suit. So say the school of fish led with this 1 mouse. Moving on to this nautical animal's hand. In Frank's Zoo, you can do one of 3 things on your turn. You can pass, and passing doesn't put you out for that trick. You can come back in once it's your turn. Or you can either play the same number of cards that's in this bubble here, of whatever beats this animal. So for example, just 1 card of anything in here. So nautical could play 1 lion. The third thing you can do is play the suit shown, but just 1 more card of it. So if 1's out here, you can play 2 mice. So going to the polar bear here, they can play either 3 mice, or they can play 2 of whatever beats this, so like 2 of these sea lions here. The trick would continue until everyone passes, either because they have to pass or they want to pass. Then whoever won that trick would just collect it and lead to the next trick, and again they can play any number, so maybe if it was sea lion here, so if they wanted to play 2 of these polar bears as lead, they totally can. There are some special cards in the game, so like this mosquito here has a symbol on the top that has this elephant and an arrow. What that means is if you wanted to play this mosquito with an elephant, it counts as an elephant. So maybe you're trying to beat these 2 polar bears. This is a valid play. You can only add 1 mosquito, though. You couldn't add another mosquito to make that 3 elephants. So it's kind of a limited thing, but it's cool because it helps give some flexibility to this card. The other special card is the joker. It can't be played on its own, but it combines with another card and is a wild. So this is now 2 mice, so it can be played on those 2 elephants. The flow of what beats what is interesting in this game, and let's say, for example, this polar bear had led this mouse. And as you can see, there's kind of this brown border around the mouse. And some cards, though, have blue or brown and blue borders, as you can see on this polar bear here. So the cards actually have kind of branching structure, and you can see that in this example. So this mouse can be beaten by both a lion and a polar bear. So if a polar bear beats it, now it can be beaten by an elephant or one of the whales. But if a lion beats it instead, it can only be beaten by an elephant. This leads to some interesting things because these cards aren't necessarily 8s or 9s like in other decks. They could be strong or weak depending on what you have. So for example here, this orca is kind of like, it can't be beaten by anything, it's super strong, but sometimes it just can't play like onto that lion there. So this is a 10, but maybe when the lions are out, this isn't really anything. So tricks will continue on, and the goal is to shed out. So the first person to shed out will get 4 points. The second person to shed out will get 3, the third will get 2, and then the last person will get 0. So kind of a diminishing return there. After everyone but one has shed out, you would record those points, you collect all the cards, and you set up for the next hand. But the crazy part is, the next hand and every future hand will be played in partnerships. So if the points look like this at the end of the first hand, how it works is the person in first place teams up with the person in third place. So the school of fish and the polar bear stocking are now on a team, and these two players are on the other team. And what's interesting is it can kind of move around. So say if it was like this, these two would be on a team. So seat position can change with your teammate over the course of the game. Then you would play a second hand, and there's a couple things different now. So as you can see on some of the cards, like the lions and the porcupines, there's this symbol on the top. And what it was kind of an exclamation mark, and they mean different scoring things. So if the porcupine, if at the end of the game, when 3 people have shut out, if you don't have a porcupine in your capture pile, you'll lose 1 point. You just need one of them, but it's kind of like if you don't have it, you'll lose a point. Then there's the lions. And what the lions are, is they have a symbol with the exclamation, but they have 2 lions on there. And what this means is, in your capture pile, if you have 2 or more lions, not just 1, every lion will count as a positive point. Also, if you're the last player who didn't shed and you have any lions in your hand, they're minus 1 point each. So you really want to get them out. Teams also includes a new rule where you can call for help to your senior partner. So the partners in the game actually have a senior and junior level. So the person with the most points would be the senior partner, and the person with the fewer points would be the junior partner. So that polar bear is the junior partner to the school of fish. The junior partners have a unique ability that the seniors don't have. What the junior can do is something called asking for help. So what you do is you show face up some set that would beat the currently played thing, if a card could be added to it. So, for example, the player here is asking for help to this character for another elephant. Maybe they don't have 2 elephants and they can't play on this, so they show 1 and they ask for help to the other partner. So if the partner has another elephant, they can add it to that, and then this can be played successfully onto the trick. So it's a cool way to get 2 cards out for the players. The tough thing though is if the junior partner asks and the other player doesn't have it, they just have to decline, and then this card would go back into their hand, their turn would be over, and it would move on to the next player. So the game would play the same, everyone's trying to shout out as quick as possible, but the scoring is a little interesting. Let's say this was how the shedding went out, so first, second, and third, and then last. So you score your partner's points, and they score yours as well. So this polar bear here got 0 points. So if it was in the first trick, they would have gotten nothing, but since their partner scored 2 points for getting out third, they get 2 points. And what's interesting is if you and your partner both score, you get both points. So over here, they get 3 for them shedding out second, but they also get 4 more because their partner shed out first. So 7 points to this player and 7 points to this player. You keep playing until someone hits 19 points at the end of a hand, and whoever has the most points wins. At the back of the rulebook here, they have a really cool what outranks what table, and you can see it's kind of a growing scale up to whale, except how mouse can kind of reset everything. And that's Frank Zoo. I like it. It's a cute, fun, lighter game, but still has some parts that are interesting to it. It's breezy. You can totally chat during it. I love that the what beats what is on the cards, because I don't think I've seen, I was going to say too many, but I don't think I've seen any games where certain cards can't beat other cards, just like inherently. Like I was saying in the overview, that the whale is a super good card because it can't be beaten by anything. But sometimes, like this lion here, you just set it up to where the whales aren't that good. So you can definitely do a lot of cool things in this game. There's fun maneuvers that way, but I don't know if there's too much, like it's too heavy of a game. I taught this actually to people who don't know climbing, shedding, or trick takers too much. I thought it was going to be a cleaner teach than it ended up being, because I was like, oh, this is simple, right? You know what beats what. But it was actually a little harder than just numbers. I think it was a little harder to grok. But after a little bit, you kind of get into the pace. And what I love about this game and about teaching this game is you can teach it piecemeal. You can teach just the first hand, and you don't have to front load a lot of the rules. So the fact that this is a good game for people new to trick taking or who haven't played too many trick taking games, I think the barrier of entry is lower, and that's exactly what you need in kind of these lighter games. It's always cool when the designer or one of the designers does the art for the game, and that was the case in this, where Doris did this kooky, super silly art, which has, again, some of my favorite art, like this buff mouse, or other cards that really give personality to it, like, you know, these smug animals here like that. The lion or the whale who just knows it can't be beat. I think what this game does well is it makes you feel like you want to be on a team with someone that you're actually competing against. And it does so in two interesting ways. One's the sharing of the points, where if my opponent or partner, you know, teammate at the time, scores out first, I'll get their shit out bonus too. I'll get their 4 points. So it's nice that you're rooting for them, but you can still try to make it so they don't get too many points. I had interesting moments where if you don't get a porcupine, you lose a point, and if you have lions in the hand, you know, you lose a point, or if you don't get lions. So it's cool how the cards themselves can give points separate from the teams. And I had a moment where the person who was on my teammate was winning, so I didn't really want them to do too well. And they asked for lions to beat what was previously played, and I had lions to give them, and I said no because I didn't want them to have win it with lions because it was lower, or it was later in the hand, and I knew they would probably win that trick. So it was interesting that you can kind of be on a team and then not be on a team with the asking mechanic. There's an interesting pseudo teammate vibe to this game. So that's Frank Zoo, and it's fun. It's light. It's a nice breezy game. It harkens back to the kind of older mentality of just playing cards, bouncing off partners, especially when your partner could be to your left or to your right. You know, like if they're to your right, you kind of don't know if you want to play it too high. You want them to eventually play on it. And the asking actually opens itself up to a lot of interesting possibilities. It's funny because when you ask, people know your card, but it's almost like a weird communication thing because you are showing to the table or communicating about what you have in your hand. So even if it doesn't work out and you have to take it back and your partner didn't get to play, you know a little bit more about their hand. So there's a lot of cool nuances that you can play off of in this game, and I think it opens itself up. And if that sounds interesting, definitely check it out. Thanks for watching.